Greetings and a warm welcome from me, astrologer Patrick Arundell. Today, in the latest of my deep dive videos, I'm going to explore the inversion of the planet of talk and thought, Mercury, back into the sign of Sagittarius, which occurs on the 23rd of December at 6:18 AM Universal Time. Now, Mercury was in Sagittarius and then made its way into the sign of Capricorn, which is very serious and businesslike, on the 2nd of December. The retrograde itself began on the 13th of December. Mercury retrogrades take around about 18 or 19 days, but the whole process is much longer. It takes 10 weeks. Why is this? I'm going to unpack all of this for you, the significance of the period before the retrograde and after the retrograde, but also look at the event chart for when Mercury actually moves back into Sagittarius. What does that tell us? But also, because we're going into a new year when Mercury is retrograde, what's the significance of that? Because it is huge. Mercury's in an alliance with Mars. We also have Venus in Sagittarius by that point. And all three planets are squaring up to either Neptune or Saturn in the 12th house sign of Pisces. Furthermore, the moon in the sign of Virgo as we go into the new year is going to be in an opposition with Saturn and squaring up with Venus in Sagittarius. So Sagittarius energy, which is very expansive, enthusiastic, optimistic, and loves to travel, is going to be in some ways met with some difficulties from that hidden 12th house energy of the swirling mist of Neptune and the rather harsher, colder energy of Saturn. Please stay with me for more. I'll also be going through each of the 12 signs from Aries through to Pisces, which you can relate to in terms of your sun or your ascendant, and give you a flavour of what you can expect. I would like to wish you a very happy Christmas and New Year. If you've yet to order your personal forecast for year 2024 based on your unique birth data, if you do so now, you'll get 30% off if you get my character analysis report as well. The combination of these two will give you Syrian insights, but also help you to forge a much more intimate understanding of how your personal astrology is playing out in your life. But also for free, in this bundle, you'll get your zodiac forecast for 24, your Indian and Chinese forecast, and that's for each of the 12 signs, totally free of charge. Please see the link below for more. So let's explore the archetypes and themes of planet Mercury. Mercury is said to be the winged messenger, and in mythology is the intermediary between the higher world and our more earthly plane. It rules two zodiac signs. The first is Gemini, which is an air sign, intrinsically about communication, and of course Mercury is about talk, communication, and in the sign of Gemini it's about fast, quick, moving information, so text messages, emails, instant messages, perfect for the news cycle that we're all gripped by these days, whether it is about more serious events or just sharing funny memes and different stuff that we see online. But its rulership of the sign of Virgo is different because here it's much more to do with the thought, because it's looking to discover things and do things which provide tangible benefits because of the earth rulership. Still mutable, so likes to flex, but it's very much about precision, attention to detail, being very thorough, going through processes in a systematic, very calibrated way. But because the sign of Virgo is very much about purity, Mercury in Virgo energy can be taken up with anything to do with food distribution, to do with healthcare, and also anything to do with physical healing, which the sign of Virgo is very much about. Now, in terms of the wider essential dignities, Mercury also prospers in the sign of Aquarius, where it's exalted, again an air sign, but doesn't fare quite so well in Leo. Mercury in Leo can give people a lot more pride, and because Mercury is about information, we need to make sure that the pride doesn't get before what's factual. But for sure, people with Mercury in Leo can be brilliant at articulating things that are more passionate or creative and very demonstrative in that way. But Mercury is said not to do so well in the sign of Pisces, and that's because Pisces is the opposite sign to the practical Virgo. But what about Sagittarius? Because that's where Mercury's just inverted too, and that's opposite the sign of Gemini. Well, yes, you've got it here. This is in detriment. It's a technical detriment, to be honest, because Mercury in Sagittarius has a lot of qualities, because here it has a thirst for knowledge, which is what Sagittarius is about, higher knowledge, but also a love of freedom, of travel, experiencing different cultures. So there's a lot to like. Why wouldn't Mercury and Sagittarius work better? Well, perhaps it is because it can be rather over optimistic. Not very interested in the details. That big picture means it's much more about trying to gain a sense of excitement. And that can mean that people who have Mercury in Sagittarius or the 9th house can be a little bit bombastic if people disagree with them. And that need for space and independence also is a counterpoint for the more dedicated energy that Mercury brings to the sign of Virgo, which likes to be more of service. So important, therefore, through this Mercury retrograde that we show precision around details. But I actually feel that we're going to see a massive amount of an exchange of information, not just over the next days up until when Mercury goes direct on the 2nd of January, but I think throughout the next year. And the reason for this is because as this event occurs, and I'm showing on the screen now the event chart, Mercury is in a square with the complex energies of Neptune. Neptune has been in the very sensitive sign of Pisces, which it rules since 2012. Here, its swirling mist can make us very compassionate, but it also can be quite disorientated and quite draining. Also, we can think something is factual because Neptune is a kind of trickster on our consciousness that's not. So we have Mercury, the planet of talk and thought, in the sign of higher information, Sagittarius, the big picture and philosophy. I feel the square between Mercury is going to be afflicted by the dreamy, drifting energies of Neptune. So what we're going to see is an information war step up. It's already started. It's been going on a very long time. And this is going to see hard and fast facts or information competing with propaganda. We're going to see the truth, which is what Sagittarius is at its very highest, most spiritual, purest form, compete with the potential for lies. We're going to see the constitution of maybe America, maybe it's going on in other countries in the world. Certainly in the UK, we've seen the constitution being attacked. It's not so formalised as in the United States, but certainly being attacked by the authoritarianism of the government. And that's occurred over the last 3 years or so in a very disastrous way. So we've got this swirling mix of this big news cycle, Gemini, Mercury, and to a degree Sagittarius, competing with the unconscious desire for people to get their message out because it suits their agenda. And unfortunately, because Mercury is in a square with Neptune as we go into the new year, and Mars is also in a square with Neptune on this event and also at the turn of the year, and Mars in the sign of Sagittarius is obviously very thrusting, it's very free-spirited, brilliant for an athlete. And it's great if you're very passionate about travel and international affairs. But Mars square Neptune is again one of the most tricky influences in astrology, because the desire of Mars is disorientated by the psychological and deceptive energies of Neptune. Now, what makes this whole process even more complex is that on the 29th of December, we're going to see Venus arrive in the sign of Sagittarius, and it's going to square up with Saturn in Pisces exactly on the 1st of January. So, big stuff, and all these energies in Sagittarius are very much about people's right to have an opinion, which is absolutely the case. We're all entitled to an opinion, but we all have a responsibility to try to be as truthful as possible. And truth, to me, a little bit of my philosophical viewpoint, has been sacrificed on the altar of political gain in many countries over the last 5 or 6 years. I would never have believed 15 or 20 years ago that British politicians would be so corrupt as we see they have been in recent years. It would have just been such a shock, because there's been such an erosion of the need for moral probity and decency, and that's what's at stake. So when we go into that new year, I'm sharing with you the event chart on the screen now. We also have a further complication, because the moon is going to be in the precise Virgo, in an opposition with the strict Saturn, but squaring up with Venus in Sagittarius. So that's a real tough aspect, that T-square. All, of course, immutable signs. But I suppose what we can take from it is that the moon in Virgo will desire much more and be very exacting to winkle out the truth in situations. But you can be sure that there will be ramifications from this. So as we go into the new year, that energy exactly at at midnight, at 0 degrees of 2024, that provides a snapshot solar return for us all for the following year. So just to recap, Mercury in the sign of Sagittarius is in its detriment, but it can be very good if we want to be enthusiastic, we want to plan a journey or a travel expedition, we want to learn new languages or take a course in higher education, but we need to make sure that the detailing that we're investing in any situations is really good. We don't rush things, which can be a bit Mercury Gemini. We slow things down and we're very precise and use the energy of Mercury Virgo to pick apart the details, but we need to be aware that Neptune is up to big mischief in the way it applies to both Mercury but also Mars. I'm now going to go through each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces to give you a flavour of what you can expect. So Aries, ever since Saturn moved into Pisces on the 7th of March, it's kind of forced you to look at some issues you didn't really want to look at. Maybe some things that were just rattling around in the dark, in the subconscious, the shadow side of your nature. Because Neptune has been causing some mischief for you since 2012. If there is anything that you do need to deal with that's to do with a contract, to do with probity, to do with the legal system, I feel that this particular event is telling you to really try to be as factual as you possibly can. If there are things that perhaps you felt more comfortable keeping hidden, they may need to come into the light in order to really give you a sense of release. Because year 2024 is going to be very exciting for you, not least because you have another solar eclipse in your sign, but also because you're going to have Jupiter, the planet of growth, move into the 3rd house of your situation on the 25th of May, and that's going to see a lot more activity and interaction for you, which is going to be really exciting. So you have an opportunity from now until then and the time of the spring equinox to prepare yourself, because Mercury is going to be going retrograde in your sign as well, and it is going to coincide with that solar eclipse in your sign. So you need to make sure that the things from your past that haven't been going so well, that perhaps have been draining your energy a bit, perhaps it's some anxieties, just in the background, if you can really embrace them in as open and upfront way as possible, you will gain a lot from this Mercury retrograde. But of course it's true that if you are heading off anywhere over the festivities, that absolutely vital that you really do check out everything. You can't control the whole process, but good to have some contingency. So if you're traveling somewhere, you've got change of clothing, some warm clothing, some hot drinks, some cold drinks. Make sure all your paperwork is really up to scratch before you head out. So Aries, if you've yet to view your year 2024 deep dive video, please see the link beneath this video. So Taurus, for you, Mercury retrograde in the sign of Sagittarius is actually about shared resources, finance, banking, and because Neptune is in your 11th house, that's very much to do with your future hopes. If you are planning a business or working collaboratively with anyone else, the 11th house, the detail of how that's going to play out, the contractual side of the investment, the 8th house, needs to really be clean and clearly defined. If you're not quite sure, things are a bit woolly or hazy, go back and keep going until you've got that absolute clarity that's so important. It's also possible, because the 8th house can be to do with intimacy, that maybe you and someone you're close to see things very differently around spending money, perhaps even on Christmas, or have a different view of what you want from the future. And again, there needs to be a frank discussion in order to negotiate what this particular event does have in store. So Taurus, if you've yet to watch your year 2024 deep dive video, please see the link beneath this video. So Gemini, it's going to be an interesting Mercury retrograde, this one for you. I feel it's possible that someone through your professional world could be in touch with you, and they may have good intent. But because Neptune and Saturn are in your 10th house, important that you get the facts in a business-like way, Saturn, but also if there is a more aspirational part of this situation, and it does require some imagination and some flair from you, Neptune in the 10th house, that the other side are going to appreciate what you're offering, but you're also clear about what you're going to get. If there are cross wires going on between you and someone that you work with, it could be frustrating if you go into this holiday season not quite sure how things stand. But equally, in a more personal context, Mercury retrograde here could mean that you're going to hear from someone that you thought had gone out of your situation. It could be that you're going to get a lovely text message, email, a late Christmas card or gift, which could absolutely delight you. Especially if you feel that that person in some ways could or maybe should, as you see it, have been in touch before. Maybe they've been caught up in other things. It's also important that in any ongoing relationship that you're conscious of the power of Mars in the 7th house, which can be very assertive. Mercury in the 7th house is brilliant really, because it can be a bit more detached, a bit more logical. It doesn't take other people's differences of opinion so personally, it's not so brittle. But Mars here brings a more abrasive dimension to our interactions. So those are all the themes for you, Gemini, in terms of your personal situation around relationships, but also professionally. So Gemini, if you've yet to watch your year 2024 deep dive video, please see the link beneath this video. So Cancer, you have a reputation of being mightily organised, and you are indeed one of the best managers of the zodiac. But the 6th house is about those little details. Sometimes the little details that can seem a little bit boring. Now, because you probably have got everything planned for the festivities in a very metronomic way, just go back through that list and just have some last minute conversations to check out that someone else's perception of a contribution they're going to be made, that they've got the same idea as you. Otherwise, suddenly there'll be no gravy. Now, obviously, I desperately hope there will be gravy, But you take my point, and the swirling mist of Neptune in the 9th house also wants to see you enjoy some escapism. And if those mundane practicalities, those details that we're all demanded to pitch in and contribute to at this time of year, if there's a sense with you that you're always the one that has to make the sacrifice, for some Cancerian people, there may be a desire to actually escape it all and do something completely different. But that could create some conflict with someone else who thinks you should be doing your bit. So that's the kind of dimension in your personal situation. In your professional life, because the 6th house is very much about work, if you do have a job, it's essential that you make sure that all the processes are completed very, very carefully. The 6th house can also be about health. So if you do feel that your vitality is a little bit suboptimal, it wouldn't be a complete surprise. But you can turn this to a victory by planning your New Year's resolutions, not just to plan them, but actually to execute them next year and keep them going, which I know that we all hope to do, but we don't always do. So I feel that you do have an option to rethink and find some marginal gains around what you eat and drink and how you cook stuff, the nutrients that you gain and the amount of exercise you get. Mercury rules the nervous system. 6th house Virgo means little changes can create big improvements. So Cancer, if you've yet to watch your year 2024 deep dive Cancer forecast, please see the link beneath this video. So Leo, Mercury retreats into the part of your situation to do with your creativity, your flair, your talent, but also your social world. Now, if something has got a bit snared up with Mercury's retrograde in the 6th house around the details, maybe you've got an opportunity now to use your immense personality power to try to put that right. If there is somebody that you're really attracted to, having Mars and Mercury in the 5th house, even with Mercury in a retrograde, is something to savour. And of course you've got Venus firing into this position too as the year comes to a close. So there's a lot to like there. The niggle is all that energy in the 8th house, which can be about possessiveness, control, relationships which are not working so sweetly. It could also be that you're tempted to splash out money on somebody who might not have the same amount of intention to connect as you would like, or perhaps you want something free and easy and someone else wants something that's more devoted. So it's important to understand the 5th house can also be where we take chances. So if you enjoy a flutter or you want to hit the winter sails, it's just saying to you, just carefully think through your decisions. Don't be too impetuous or too impulsive. But it could be that a plan for a party could be changed last minute, which could be a bit irritating or frustrating. But equally, you could get invited to one at the last minute that you're not expecting. Mercury retrograde is never all in one direction alone. So Virgo, for you, Mercury moving into your 4th house is very much in keeping with this time of year, because it's when we get together with those people we're closest to. But there could be some misunderstandings with someone within your family. Christmas Day itself sees the moon in Mercury, so your feelings are going to be quite close to the surface, but having that gathering of energy also with Venus as the year comes to a close, I feel for New Year's Eve you might actually want to retreat a little bit rather than step out and have fun. But that's not certain, because there is a great link between the Sun and Jupiter on the full moon, which occurs on the 27th, so that's not absolutely certain. What I am getting is with Neptune and Saturn in your 7th house, your connection with someone at an emotional level seems to take on a much greater importance. And therefore, if it's difficult to find that point of connection, that could prove understandably frustrating. So Mercury retrograde, that part of you that does like things to be very, very well planned and organised and things to play out exactly as you would like, you may have to just accept being flexible is the best way to survive this particular Mercury retrograde. But if you're thinking about moving, changing, where you live, adapting it in some ways, working from home, or someone within your family group asks your advice about a property matter, that could be quite a lot of the conversation that goes on through the festivities. If you've yet to watch your year 2024 deep dive astrology forecast Virgo, please see the link beneath this video. So Libra, for you, Mercury retrogrades back into the third house. Third house is connections with siblings, people immediately around you. It can be to do with your tech, your mode of transport. So all of those things may need some attention, but then again you could get some solutions because you could be gifted a new device over the festivities, which will actually sort out an ongoing glitchy item which has not been performing quite as you would like. Mercury retrograde can provide solutions. But what about that square with Neptune? Well, because Mercury can rule the nervous system, particularly the third house, and the sixth house is about your physical vitality, there's only so much you can cram in. So over the holiday period, it's vital that as much as a lot of people may want to spend time with you, because this will be, I feel, a jolly period between Christmas and New Year, it's okay to say no. Don't feel obligated. And I feel that if you need to recharge your batteries as you go into the new year, that's perfectly fine. You are going to see Venus move out of a sector that's very much to do with improvement to your finance. It's going to move on the 29th. So even a last minute invitation could prove to be quite exciting for you as the curtain comes down on this year. So Libra, if you've yet to watch your year 2024 deep dive video, please see the link beneath this video. So Scorpio, Mercury has inverted back into your second house where your traditional ruler Mars is. The second house is about money. If you're owed money, it could really be irritating that as you're going into the holiday season, someone hasn't paid up in a timely way. If you're buying and selling anything online, that's an area that you need to make sure that you keep all the documentation. If you're going into a shop, keep the receipt in case when you get home the item you buy in the winter sales doesn't fit. Pretty basic stuff, eh? But what about the role of Neptune? Well, Neptune is in the fifth house, which is about romance, but it's also about joyfulness. You could buy someone a last minute Christmas gift because it feels good for you, but they may not actually appreciate it as you would like. You could also learn over this particular Mercury retrograde that your values don't align quite as closely with someone else as you may have hoped. But Venus is going to be moving on the 29th, and if there has been a delay in a payment, the chances are you can get it resolved just before the year comes to a close. So Scorpio, if you've yet to watch your year 2024 deep dive horoscope video, please see the link beneath this video. Now this Mercury retrograde for you, Sagittarius, is an interesting one because maybe something you started to develop an idea in November that you thought was really gaining traction as you went into December has kind of petered out. It's not quite gone as you would have hoped. Maybe it's even, some kind of connection to somebody else. But Mercury returning to your sign gives you an opportunity to just fettle things a little bit, just finesse them. You're going to find by the 21st of January that actually something that has proved elusive over many years is actually going to come back to you in a way which really delights you. And it could give you some kind of solid foundation stone to go on from that point into the year. So I actually feel you have lots of opportunities to go forwards, but of course because of the role of Neptune applying to both Mercury and Mars, and also Saturn applying to Venus at the turn of the year, you just really need to be conscious of your home and emotional environment, because at the moment it may feel that that's blunting some of your desire to focus on what you want to do, or maybe you just want to be really immersed in that home and family environment, and maybe there's things that you're being asked to do that distracting you from that. So there's a kind of a little bit of a dislocation potential there, but that plan really will come back to you in a solid way by the third week of January if you can really really get your determination to keep beavering away. It just may need to alter a little bit to get to the outcome you want. So Sagittarius, if you've yet to watch your year 2024 deep dive video, please see the link beneath this video. So Capricorn, each year, once the sun makes its way into your sign, you tend to really get into the festivities and feel really at the centre of things. This year's going to be a bit of an odd one, I feel. It's possible that whether it is people immediately around you or family members or just connecting with the world at large, you may have a reluctance, you may have a greater need to just withdraw a little bit and have some more time to yourself. If that happens, because it is supposed to be a time of the year when we're all joining in, it may feel that you are sort of out of a rhythm that would be normal for you. But the more you fight it, the more it actually can exhaust you. I also feel that you're going to be a lot more sensitive to whatever is being spoken about, or what you're reading or watching can all have an impact on your emotional well-being. So I think this is a time to really defend your position. If you need to withdraw somewhat, just see that as natural. And if there are any kind of fair weather friends around you that you're not so sure of, those are the people that actually, not because they're being unintentionally unkind, but you're just going to have a bit of a psychic sponge that can pick up those vibrations that may not be so uplifting, and that can all feed into you. So this is a time to be protective, rest if necessary, minimize your interaction with others. I feel that once Mercury returns to your sign on the 14th of January, you will feel stronger, but also remember there is a stunning link between the Sun and Jupiter, the Sun in your sign, on the 27th, which can still give you a lot of uplift, but maybe something that you've been thinking about, maybe you just need more time to just mull it over. It's not quite ready to be launched. By the 20th of January, everything will feel much clearer. If you've yet to watch your year 2024 deep dive video, please see the link beneath this video, Capricorn. So Aquarius, for you, this Sagittarius energy of Mercury in retrograde and Mars is in house 11. House 11 very much in keeping with Aquarius energy. It's about how we connect to others, the network, our friendship group, our alliances. But also it's about our longer term planning. And I feel that your longer term plans may feel somewhat afflicted at this time because of the role of Neptune and Saturn. Because maybe as money's not freely as available as you would like to do the things you really want around those long term plans, or maybe you're starting to realise that some people in your friendship group actually see things very, very differently to you, and that's making you feel a bit disheartened. Now, once Venus moves into your 11th house on the 29th, that will really help. But that is going to forge a square with your traditional ruler of Saturn on the 1st of January. I think that once Mercury moves into your sign, and it's going to be followed by, obviously, the transition of Pluto on the 21st of January, the Sun, and then Venus and Mars in February, you'll look back at this period of time and see it for what it is really. It's a time when you can shape your plans, but maybe things just can't move as quick as you want. So that in itself can be a bit depleting, especially if you do feel very excited about some of the hopes that you've got. But hopes at the moment can be diminished a little bit by some disappointment about some of the things that you encounter. You know, for example, if you're owed money, Neptune and Saturn in the second house, big chance that you could be owed some money. Well, you can't go out and socialise if you're waiting for that money. So at a time of the year when you want to get stuck in, but actually imagine a bow with Sagittarius being drawn back and it's getting more and more taut, And when Pluto moves into your sign along with the Sun on the 21st, it's going to see you rocketing forwards. And by the middle of February, you're going to be really excited about how things are evolving for you. If you've yet to watch your year 2024 deep dive forecast, Aquarius, please see the link beneath this video. So Pisces, for you, the Sagittarius energy is in your sector of worldly interaction, goals and ambitions. Mars being here has been really good for you because maybe it's given you more determination to find your voice, to assert your view of situations. But Mercury in the retrograde squaring up with Neptune suggests that if you are trying to negotiate with someone in a position of influence, they could get a little bit confused by all the options that you're presenting. Maybe they're not quite as able to flex like you are. So if you are speaking to someone about a new role, a new job, a new proposal, keep it simple at this stage. Bide your time. There is a great link on the 27th between the Sun and Jupiter, which can catapult you forwards even at this late stage of the year. And remember, you're also going to have Saturn opposite the Moon as we go into the new year in a T-square with Venus. So it may feel that however much you deploy charm and diplomacy, somehow or another, you're not necessarily going to be recognised about how you're going about things. People won't necessarily see that you're trying to be delicate. But the key is really just being realistic about what you can achieve at this late stage of the year, especially around goals and ambitions. But as you go into the new year, it is going to be a bit of a theme for 2024 that whatever opportunities come up, the way you go about them must be very businesslike, very factual, and not too dreamy and drifty. So that's the strategy that you can take into the new year. If you've yet to watch your year 2024 deep dive Pisces video, please see the link beneath this video. It's been a real pleasure being with you, sharing all about Mercury's retrograde in Sagittarius. Don't forget to check out that year 2024 video or my special offer on your personal forecast. But for now, take care, and again, all the best for Christmas and the new year.